Hi, morning everyone. Welcome to episode 31 of the Knitting Expat Podcast. Welcome. Today is Monday, the 11th of October 2015. My name is Mina. I'm coming to you from Bahrain in the Middle East, and I wanted to welcome all new and returning viewers. Thank you so much for checking me out if you're new and giving me a go. I hope you like it. And thank you so much for coming back if you're a returning viewer. I really appreciate you guys coming back each week and spending some time with me, seeing what I'm up to, and then hopefully chatting about it later on the Ravelry group, which, by the way, we do have a Ravelry group for the podcast. It's the Knitting Expat Podcast on Ravelry. You can find me on Ravelry as Mina86. I'm on Instagram and Periscope as Mina Phillip, but I haven't really done anything on Periscope at all, but I am very active on Instagram. Sorry about the sniffles, I've got some allergies that are acting up lately. I also sell project bags on Etsy, that's under Mina Makes on Etsy. You can find the show notes on the knittingexpat.wordpress.com blog. There'll be show notes for this, and all previous episodes are on there. I do post individual episode threads each week on the Ravelry group, and so there'll be everything will be linked on there. Everything's linked below under the video on YouTube, and also on the blog. So wherever you're watching this video, because it's embedded in it's on YouTube and it's also embedded in the blog and on Ravelry, so wherever you're watching it, you'll find all the links to everything I mentioned there. I wanted to first say a really quick thank you to everyone who's reached out to me in this last week. After my last episode, in my last episode, I mentioned that a family member had passed recently, and a lot of you were really, really lovely, really sweet, reached out to me and sort of said that that you were keeping me in your thoughts and things like that, and I really appreciated it. Thank you so much to everyone for that. I wanted to quickly do a recap of what I'm going to be covering today. I know a few people have mentioned that they appreciate it when I do that, and I do try and do that every week, but I've been forgetting recently. So this week I'll be first starting out with some podcasts that I've been enjoying lately. Finished objects, works in progress, needle adjacent stuff, knit alongs and giveaways, knitting tips. There's only a small one this week. Q&A section, shop update stuff, acquisitions, and a week in review. So that's kind of the outline for this week's episode. So starting out with podcasts that I've been enjoying lately, I've really been enjoying catching up with Ellie and Dave over at FO and Die. Theirs was a podcast I'd been hearing about a bit recently, but I hadn't really gotten around to watching it up until 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I've been slowly catching up with their podcasts, and they're really fun to hang out with, and they're a husband and wife team from the UK, and they both knit, and it's really sweet to see what they're up to, and they've got knitting stuff for their kids and this and that, and it's just really nice to hang out with them and see what they're working on. So yeah, make sure you check them out if you haven't already. And the second one I wanted to talk to you about this week was the podcast Knitting Spring. And this is run by, there's only a couple of episodes so far, and it's being done by Tonya, and she's from New York. I actually met Tonya when I was in New York at Gauge Intention for Kristen's trunk show, Kristen on Vine. She also has a podcast, Younggasm, which is great, so you should check that out too. But Tonya recently started her podcast after I met her at Gauge Intention. And I knew she was thinking about starting one, but I didn't know she had. So it was only when Kristen mentioned it on her most recent episode that I was like, ooh, I have to go check that out. And hers is really fun as well. She's really sweet. She knits a lot of sweaters, and she's really good at it too. So make sure you check her out as well. Hers is a good one to start watching now, because she's only just started. And they're relatively short episodes. They're about half an hour or less. So they're good as one of those like quick podcasts. And just as an FYI, I had a question about this last week. I do link all the podcasts that I mentioned, not just in this first section, but throughout the episode. I list all of them in the show notes on the blog. And then on Ravelry, in the episode thread, I actually I link all the different podcasters as well. So it's you can actually find individual people who do the podcasts through Ravelry as well. So hopefully that makes it easy for you guys to find everyone that I mentioned. Okay, so next up we have finished objects, and as you can see, I'm wearing my first one. And for all of you who were wondering whether or not I managed to get full-length sleeves and what I ended up doing, yes I did. I managed to get full-length sleeves, and I got long sleeves as well, like actually longer than I thought I would. And just to show you how much yarn I had left over, that's how much grey I had left at the end. So I weighed it, it's about 10 grams. So I could have actually made the sleeves a little bit longer on the ribbing if I'd wanted to, but really what I would have wanted was a bit more length on the body, and wouldn't have really been enough. I mean, I could have added a few more rows, but wouldn't have made that much of a difference. And this is how much I had left of the two colours. There's the blue and the purple, and the yarn I'm using, if I can find all the tags, just lying around here now, is Cam Garn. It's by Istex, who do Loppy, the Icelandic yarn, and this is the Icelandic Merino. So it's, and so I had, the three colours. Icelandic Merino is not as soft as any other kind of soft merino that you can think of. It's definitely a coarser yarn. It is definitely scratchy, not as scratchy as Loppy, which is like the bulkier one. But I mean, it's still wearable. I will probably wear it with something that has, more sleeve, more coverage. At the moment I'm just wearing it with the tank top because it's quite warm. But yeah, so I mean, I could definitely feel the scratch when I wear it, but doesn't bother me all that much. And I just realised I haven't even told you what the pattern is. This is the Marco Polo cardigan by Ella Torrente on Ravelry. It's I knit it on 4mm needles, and it's meant to be knit with sport to like light DK at a loose gauge, and this is what this yarn is. It is somewhere between a sport and a light DK. It's about 300 meters per 100 grams, so around that mark. I learned a lot about the importance of row gauge with this pattern. My stitch gauge was 1 stitch out. The stitch gauge for this pattern was 20 stitches per 4 inches, and I was getting 21. So, and I only had enough yarn to knit the size that was only 1 inch larger than my bust size, and this is supposed to be a loose cardigan knit with like 4 to 5 inches of ease, which would have meant I'd have had to knit the size up to get that much ease, but I didn't have enough yarn for that. And so I knit the size that was closest to my bust size. Like I said, it's about 1 inch and a bit larger, but because my gauge was slightly tighter, that's right, yeah, my gauge was slightly tighter, this has basically brought the size down to my size. So you see there's not much ease at all. I mean, there's a little bit, it's not completely skin tight. I mean, I always get this slight pulling in the front when I have cardigans with buttons anyway. So yeah, and this is the contiguous sleeve method of construction, and as you can see, this is a really well fitting, like the seams for the shoulder are sat right on my shoulder. And the last cardigan I knit with the contiguous sleeve is hanging up there in the background, and that is the Stripes Gone Crazy cardigan, I believe, by Atelier Alpha on Ravelry, and I love that cardigan. But I actually ended up knitting the size that was a couple of inches larger than what I should have knit the size down to get a better fit in the shoulders. So I was chatting with Selma from Two Tangle Skeins. She sort of guest hosts occasionally on their podcast, on the Ravelry thread, about sizing for this to get the right fit in the shoulders. And I heard someone, I can't remember which podcast mentioned this, but that when you take your chest measurement, your bust measurement for for picking a size, you shouldn't actually take your bust measurement. It should be your over bust measurement, so right under your armpits, that measurement, because that gives you the most accurate fit for your shoulders. And then if you need to, especially if it's a top down garment, you can, you know, increase a bit more for your bust if you need to, or you can make alteration, you can add more stitches for sleeves if you need to. And that's pretty much what I did. So I knit the size that was exactly for the closest to my bust size, my upper bust. And then I did extra increases for my sleeves, because I always need I always need slightly extra space. I don't like it being like completely skin tight, and this is good. This is about as, you know, as fitting as I would want it to be. But because but my row gauge was completely off with this pattern, quite a bit off actually. So I ended up having to add 2 extra stripes to the bottom of the cardigan to get it to be the right length. And it's a good length. I would have preferred it to be a little bit longer, but honestly it's still a perfectly wearable cardigan for me. As for the sleeves, I basically sort of roughly followed the pattern, but didn't really. I kind of just did my own thing. With the sleeves, I kind of just tried on as I go, and I started doing the decreases as the pattern said, and then I just tried it on, and I was like, okay, well that's a good size for this part of my arm. I'll just keep knitting straight. And when I get to a part where it's slightly getting baggy again, I'm like, okay, I'll start doing decreases again. I've always done that with sleeves. I don't think I've ever unless I'm knitting something for someone else, I've always done the sleeve decreases by trying it on as I go, and I just figure it out for what works for my body, rather than just going with what's written in the pattern, because what's written in the pattern doesn't always fit me, because I'm taller than the average person. And so I imagine most pattern writers, when they're writing a pattern, kind of would use themselves as a model for the sizing, for their size anyway, and then I assume that's how they do it. I don't really know, and I know there are like standardized sizing charts that you can use to size patterns, but even then that is usually based on an average size woman, and I believe the average height for a woman at the moment is around 5'4". I'm 5'10", so most things are wouldn't be the right length for me. So if they say do decreases over the first 2 inches or first 5 inches and then knit straight, well for me then I would need to knit longer in between the decreases to get the same effect, because this 5 inches on someone who's shorter than me would be, well, it's not going to get me to the same point as it would on someone who's like shorter or a smaller. Does that make any sense? I'm really sorry, I'm just thinking about this now and I realize that's not making much sense. What I'm trying to get at is, if it says, for example, do a decrease every stripe, especially because my row gauge is a little bit off as well. One stripe in the pattern is actually more inches than it is with my knitting, so I kind of had to space it out a bit more and figure it out from there. Basically, what you need to know is I just do my own thing when it comes to sleeves, so that it fits me. I'll quickly show you what it looks like, what I did on the inside. And this was to save yarn. I actually figured it out after I did the first sleeve, how much yarn I saved by doing it this way. I carried the grey. I cut the yarn for every stripe after I did the colours, but for the grey I actually carried it through. So if I turn this inside out, I can show you. There, you can see. So all I did was every second row I twisted the yarns around each other and carried, so that basically ties the grey down so it's not loose on the inside. And that's what it looks like, and it's perfectly neat and it works pretty well. I find the most you can realistically carry yarn for is about 12-ish rows. And you've got to be careful about your tension so you don't pull it too tight. And I did that with my Stripes Gone Crazy on the sleeve that you can see with the thin stripes. I actually carried all 4 colours throughout the whole thing, because each colour would have only been carried over 12 rows at most. It left sort of like a slightly, it's not overly bulky because it's fingering weight, but it did leave like a little ridge on the inside. It is not a problem when I wear it, and frankly it saved me like a bajillion ends. But what this also did, because the grey was the one I had the least of and I didn't know if I was going to have enough to finish it, what this meant was I saved, you know, the amount of yarn I would have had to leave for the ends. You know, you're usually supposed to leave about a 6-inch tail. So assume you leave like 6-7 inch tail at either end for weaving in, versus carrying the yarn and using a little over 1 inch for each stripe. I did the maths on it. I saved about 3 yards worth of yarn by carrying yarn versus cutting tails. So I figured that was worth it, and it saved, you know, it meant I had enough yarn and didn't have to worry in the end. So that was good. A little tip there for you. Carry the yarn. And with stripes, honestly, this cardigan just flew off my needles. I don't even understand how this happened. I calculated it. I spent actual days knitting, and I'm not talking like whole days in terms of hours. The actual days, number of days that I spent knitting on this, be it just a couple of rows or a whole chunk, was 9. This cardigan was knit in 9 days, and could have been knit in less than that because it took me 2 days just to do the ribbing around the body, because I was doing so many other things. I didn't have much knitting time then. But each of the sleeves took me one evening. Yeah, I started sort of like late afternoon and was finished before I went to bed. So I did 1 sleeve each evening. It was knit on 4mm needles, so it did go pretty fast. Bigger needles for thinner yarn. Honestly, it's the stripes. Stripes make everything go faster. If you have trouble knitting garments, knit a striped garment and see how quickly that goes. So that's my Marco Polo, and I really enjoyed knitting that one. My second FO for this week are my honey badger socks. And this is how they've turned out. These are knit with Lang Joel Magic Degrade in the 7231 colourway. It's this really nice sort of autumnal colours. And this is how the socks turned out. You can see that better that way. It's a lovely little sort of slip stitch and eyelet pattern. And I didn't quite follow the pattern exactly. I kind of just took the texture pattern that I enjoyed and carried that all the way down. It was an okay knit. It was fine, and there's nothing wrong with the pattern. I think it was just a combination. The yarn wasn't particularly great to knit with. I didn't really enjoy this one as much as I enjoyed the rainbow one, which was the exact same yarn. I don't know what it was. And it's turned out quite loose, as you can see on the blocker. It's a bit baggy. So what I'm thinking of trying to do, I kind of want to know your opinion as well, because I think this might end up being too big for the person that I've made it for. So I'm thinking of just sticking it in the washing machine and then throwing it in the dryer to see if that tightens it up a little bit. I mean, it is a sock yarn and it is machine washable, so I don't know what you guys think. Do you think I should try that? Because at the moment I'm pretty sure this is going to be too big for the person, so I've not really got anything to lose, really, have I? Worst case, I have to knit another pair of socks. So thoughts on that? But those are the honey badger socks. It's probably a pattern I'll do again because I really enjoyed the effect of that texture. It's really nice. So that's my second FO for this week. And honestly, with everything that's gone on this week, I'm so surprised I got so much knitting done as well. So my first work in progress. So yeah, moving on to works in progress. First one up is in one of my Mina Makes bags, and this is the Dewdrops shawl by Bex Hopkins. Oh, I forgot to tell you, the Honey Badger socks, that's by Irish Girly Knits on Ravelry. It's a free pattern. So the Dewdrops shawl is by Bex Hopkins. It's also a free pattern on Ravelry. Give you a quick idea of what that will look like. This is a terrible picture. My printer went funny, but you get the idea. And I am knitting this on Dye for Yarns 100% Tussar Silk base. It's a lace yarn. This is in the red. It's the Hot Desire colorway. It's beautiful, beautiful yarn. And this is how far I am so far. And I did basically, since the last time we spoke, I've added one more chart. I've done one more chart repeat. So I don't know how well you can see that. There you go. So this last section here is what I've added since last week. And I would have knit more on this, but for one thing, I've got a ridiculous number of stitches on the needles now. There's easily over 400 stitches at this point. So each of the chart repeats, each row takes quite a while. And it's also one that takes quite a bit of concentration because I'm in the full lace section now. And it's not difficult lace, it looks really intricate, but it's not actually that difficult at all. It's quite easy to memorize the repeats after you've done a couple of them on each row. So a couple of repeats into each row, it goes faster. It starts to go faster because, for me anyway, I've memorized the repeat by then because it's a 12 stitch repeat. It's usually okay to memorize. And again, it's good because if you know how to read your knitting, you can sort of see where you are. And yes, I've been enjoying that. I've got 3 more charts to do and then I'm done. So I'm looking forward to getting that off the needles soon because I'm really excited to get that one blocked. My next work in progress is a new one that you haven't seen yet. I showed you the yarn for this last week, and this is in my Mina Makes Rainbow bag. And this is my Exploration Station by Stephen West. And that looks like this when it's finished. And I have knit the first section, and this pattern was originally a mystery knit along, so it's in sections. There's 5 sections in total, and I've done the first section. I can't even stretch it out on the needles now because it's too big. Well, it's technically this way up, isn't it? There we go. I haven't posted a picture of this on Instagram yet. So this is the first section, and I'm really loving how these colours are working out. It's really bright and colourful, and it's totally something I would wear. Look at that. And this is going to be a massive shawl by the time it's done. The next section I've got coming up now is the brioche section, which I haven't tried before. And what I'm planning on doing is I've got some scrap yarn. I'm going to have a practice with the brioche first before I start on this, and that's why I haven't done it yet. It's because I haven't had the time or the energy to do that first, because I don't really want to start this and have to keep ripping it back. And I'm knitting this with Madeline Tosh yarns, Madeline Tosh Light, Tosh Merino Light, Words of Halo. And these are the colours that I'm using. Just get everything out. So the grey is Tern, and the yellow at the bottom here is Candlewick. This blue is Baroque Violet, and the purple is Lolita. And this blue one has hints of purple in it, which match the Lolita, so these two go really well together. I kind of like how these two add to it. So that's where I'm at with the Exploration Station. And then next up on my needles, next up on my needles are no, not in this one, sorry, in this bag are a pair of socks for Perry. I know I said last week I was going to cast these on and try and get them done in a week, which would have been possible if I had actually done that. I cast them on yesterday. So these are nowhere near being done because I only just started them. And I'm all tangled up in myself here. There we go. I've just done a simple 1x1 rib on these ones. I didn't go for a twisted rib just because when I was casting these on, my hands were hurting a little bit, and twisted rib does put a bit more pressure on your hands. That's what it looks like so far. I've only done a few rows of the stockinette section. Literally just started these yesterday. I did a lot of ribbing yesterday because I started another pair of socks as well, which I'll show you in a second. So I've done the cuffs for both pairs of socks. Get all the ribbing done in one go. just get it out of the way. So I do 20 rows of ribbing before I go into the stockinette section. The yarn I am using for this is the Uncommon Thread, their BFL Tough Sock, I think it is. Yeah, in the Tough Sock base, which is 80% superwash BFL, 20% nylon, and this is in the Citrus Peel colorway. Lovely bright orange that and Perry loves orange. So and I'm thinking of using this Regia scrap for heels on this one, because I'm not sure I'm going to have enough yarn to knit socks to the length that he likes if I just use the orange for everything. So that's that. So, and that'll probably be entering into a couple of Halloween KALs that are going on at the moment, because it's a nice bright pumpkin orange colour. I am so sorry about the sniffles. It is driving me crazy, but my allergies are just going nuts at the moment. And I don't want to have to keep pausing the video to sniffle. I'm so sorry. Next up on my needles are another pair of socks, funnily enough, considering I just told you that. And these are for my dad for Christmas. And this, I just started, again, same thing, just started on the ribbing. I've done 2x2 rib for this one. I kind of mix it up between 1x1, 2x2 and 1x1 twisted rib. Those seem to be the standard ribbings that I go for, and I just mix it up to keep it interesting. For this sock, I'm using Crazy Zabbable. Let me find the tag. Crazy Zabbable, and this is in the Domino colorway for one that's actually easy to pronounce in English. It's this black and white colorway. My dad actually picked this color out. My mum took him to Loop one day before she came in the summer. She went and bought me some yarn. I didn't know she was doing that, but she did, and she dragged my dad along with her, and he picked out this one. So I thought I'd make him socks out of it for Christmas, considering he picked it. So that's it for what's on my needles. So that's 4 things on my needles. I haven't touched my Cozy Memories blanket this week. I do want to get back to that because I need to use up some more. I need to add in more of my scraps so then I can use the leftovers to create minis. So I do need to get on that. But as for what is needle adjacent, I still need to get started on my dad's sweater. My mum confirmed to me last night that he does like the buttons down the front, so I'm going to be doing the button band. So that'll be fine, so I can get started on that soon. But I'm only going to take it down to about here, so just after I've separated for the sleeves, and I'll probably put in waste yarn just before I separate for the sleeves in case I need to rip back, and then I'll go just a little bit beyond that, so then when I go to the UK I can get him to try it on and make sure it fits nicely. Because yeah, like I said, if it doesn't, then I can rip it back, and I've put the waste yarn in, so it's nice and easy to pick up the stitches if I have to do that. What else? I have a couple of socks lined up that I want to knit. First one is in this bag, which I haven't actually split the cake up yet because it looks so beautiful in the cake. It's this beautiful Bear and Voller yarn, and this is one of her half and half skeins. I think this was one of the first ones she did actually, and this is on her Bare and Stark sock, so this is slightly thinner than her barefoot sock. This is a different fibre content as well. It's 75% virgin wool and 25% polyamide, whereas her barefoot sock is 80% merino, 20% nylon, or 20% polyamide, I can't remember. So this is definitely the same sort of consistency as like a Regia or an opal. It's beautiful colours, and this is going to be for my sister-in-law, and she loves pink, so I think this will be perfect for her for a pair of socks for Christmas. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do a pattern or not. I may do a pair of Vida socks out of the sock pattern, because I did the one in the pattern on a sort of, I've got that here to show you, on this sort of, and this was also like a half and half skein of, this was wool barn yarn, and it came out really well, and I think with the pink and green it would look lovely as well. Yeah, because the other half of the skein is this sort of white with speckles of pink and not pink, of green and yellow in it. So I think that would look lovely. So I might do that. And I have this solid Cascade, not Cascade, sorry, Knit Picks Stroll green to use for heels. So I think that will go pretty well together. Jeez, these sniffles are driving me crazy. I really do apologise about it. And next up, in one of my Christmas bags, this one I'm keeping because I made a boo-boo. I made a mistake with this one. So this is one of my, I keep all my rejects. I always say to people when I make my bags, I keep all my rejects. So all the good ones go in the shop. And this is going to be a pair of socks for one of my friends. And this is the Fortissima colour in the 5410, sorry, 2410, that's not a 5, that's a 2, get your numbers right, colourway. And this is beautiful blue with speckles of like purple and yellow and green and some black as well in there. So I think that'll be nice socks. And I might do blueberry waffles with those for one of my friends. So those 2 socks are coming after those 2 socks are finished. And then once I've got those 2 socks finished, I have another 4 pairs of Christmas socks that I'm planning on knitting, which sounds insane. Actually, it sounds pretty doable considering how quickly I go through socks. But what is really insane is Christmas for me is the 28th of November, because we're not going to be with our families for Christmas. We're going to be in Bahrain, just me and Perry this year. So when we go back to London at the end of November, we're having early Christmas with both our families together. That's on 28th November. So I need to have everyone's presents finished in time before November, not Christmas, which is why I've started my Christmas knitting quite early. I've been Christmas knitting since August. So yeah. But actually 3 out of the 4 other ones that I haven't actually balled up the yarn for yet, 3 of them can probably wait a little bit longer and I could probably mail them. So we will see. If I don't get to do those in time, then it's not, for November, then it's not the biggest deal. But we'll figure that out near the time. I also have a new shawl design that I am working out at the moment, and I haven't cast that on yet, but just thought I'd let you know that's coming up soon. Hopefully I'll have something done and ready to release in the new year. So moving on to knit along news and giveaways. I'm still waiting for a couple of the prize winners for the Rainbow KAL and Sept KAL to get in touch with me. For the Rainbow KAL, there are 2 pattern prize winners who I'm waiting to get in touch with me, and for the Sept KAL, there's 1 person left to get in touch with me, and that's 1 person for the physical prize. So if you haven't checked it out yet, check out, I think it was last week's episode, check it out, and I will, check it out, let me know that you've seen it and send me your details and I'll be able to send your prize along to you. I will give it a couple more weeks, and if I haven't heard back from the current prize winners, then I will, I'll probably, for the physical prize anyway, I'll probably redraw a different winner. The 2000 subscriber giveaway, I drew the prize winner for that just before I started filming. And just to remind you of the prizes, we have a matching set of Mina Makes bags in the orange and blue paisley. So the larger one, this is my medium size, and this is my sort of micro wedge size. So this can be used for like really small projects, or you could probably fit a pair of socks in there if you knit them one at a time. And or like a hat, or like little baby items. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this beautiful skein of Dubai Knits yarn in the Riverbend colourway. This is her Lunar base, my friend JC. This is a Lunar base, 100% superwash merino, 400 yards. Words are failing quite badly. And it's a really lovely deep dark tonal blue with hints of orangey brown in there, and like a nice sort of that colour there. I really like that. It's really beautiful. Then we also have some stitch markers. These are the snagless ring stitch marker type in rainbow colours. And we have this lovely keychain soft blocker kit. And also the winner will be gifted the full Vida collection of patterns, which is the hat, the socks, and the shawl, for anyone who was wondering. And the winner we had 388 entries, so 387 if you don't count mine, which is the first post. And out of 387, number 376 actually won, and that is Art Like Noise on Ravelry, and that is Harriet from Nottingham. So congratulations, Harriet. If you can get in touch with me, send me a PM on Ravelry with your address, let me know that you've won, and I will get this stuff out in the mail to you as soon as possible. So congratulations, and yeah, so let me know. And with that, I will move on to the new knit along that I am starting. Now, I sort of mentioned this last week that I was going to do a Vida KAL for the shawl, the hat and socks. But I also understand that everyone is really overwhelmed with Christmas knitting at this time of year. Well, not say everyone, those who do choose to do gift knitting tend to be quite overwhelmed with projects for family members and friends at this time of year, and that's totally understandable. And obviously if you want to knit one of my patterns as a gift, then that is great, and if you don't, that's also fine. But I will be running a relatively casual KAL. There's not going to be a separate FO thread, it's going to be chatter and FO all together in one thread. And what I will do is I will just go through and pick out the names of those who post finished object photos, and I will sort of pull them out. I'll actually do them on strips of paper and stick them in a bucket or a bag or whatever, and randomly draw names that way. And so, like I said last week, you get 1 entry if you do the hat, you get 1 entry if you do socks. As Hugo scratching the cat tree. You get 2 entries if you do the smaller shawl, and you get 3 entries if you do the larger shawl, which is what this one is. And the reason for that is it's representative of how many skeins of yarn you use for each project. So the hat and socks each take 1 skein, the smaller shawl takes 2 skeins, and the large one takes 3. So I think it's quite fair and proportionate that way in terms of the amount of time invested in a piece, as it were. So that's how I'm going to do it. And like I said, I'll just pull out the names. So if you've knit the large shawl, you only need to post 1 FO picture in the thread, and I will, when I write out the names, I will just write your name 3 times, so you get 3 separate entries. And for now, I've had a few people ask me about this. For now, I will run the knit along until the end of this year, so 31st of December. But it's quite likely that I will extend that into January, depending on how many people are getting involved. If people want an extension, I'll kind of just play it by ear. Like I said, this is a very casual, very sort of easygoing knit along. I don't want to stress anyone out with too many requirements and too many rules and stuff with this at this time of the year. So the only rules are you need to be a member of the group and you have to knit one of the Vida patterns. That is it. That is the only requirement. And obviously you have to post a finished object in the thread. There will be some prizes. I will donate a bag that I've made. I haven't decided which one yet or what that will be, but there will be a bag prize. There may be some pattern prizes, a few other things potentially. If you are a indie dyer, bag maker, stitch marker maker, designer, whatever, and you want to donate some prizes for this knit along or any other future knit along, then please do get in touch and we can sort something out on that side of things. And yeah, so once I've figured out exactly what the prizes are, I will let you know, but there will be prizes. And again, the number of prizes will probably depend on how many people take part. So yeah, and there's a thread already for that up in the Ravelry group, so make sure you go and check that out and join in the chatter. There's already been a few people posting what yarns they're planning on using, and a couple of people have already started. And oh yeah, whips are welcome. Don't worry, if you've already started one of the patterns, like the sock or hat, you're more than welcome to enter those. If you were one of my testers for my shawl, you can also enter your finished shawl project, because those were a lot of work and I really appreciate all of your effort in helping me out with that. So you're also you can also enter your test shawls into the knit along as a big thank you. And yeah, I think that covers it. If you have any other questions about the knit along, just ask away in the knit along thread on the group, and I will answer you there. I think that pretty much covers it. I'm just double checking my notes to make sure I've covered everything. Yeah, I think I have. I'm going to put this on now because I cranked up the AC because I was putting that cardigan on and it's a little bit chilly now. Yeah, Hugo's just staring out the window, watching the world go by. It's a bit windy out there, so the leaves are rustling.
Hey, jumping back in here really quickly just to say, I forgot to mention that there is actually a coupon code for the Vida shawl at the moment, which gives you $1.50 off the pattern price. That is just Vida, all capital letters, VIDA, gives you $1.50 off just the single pattern, and then you can get the 3 patterns in the collection, the hat, the socks and the shawl, for $9, which is 25% discount, I believe, off buying the patterns all 3 individually. So you can buy the collection together as an ebook, and gives you all 3 patterns for $9 instead of $12, which is how much it would cost if you bought each of them separately. So make sure you go check that out.
Anyway, so moving on to knitting tips, and I'm going to grab my cardigan again to show you. So I already covered some tips and stuff when I showed you the cardigan, like carrying the yarn up the sleeve and stuff like that. But another one I wanted to talk about specifically this week was Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, and that's what I've used to bind off everything on this cardigan, really. So you can see there's no flaring at all on this ribbing here. It's easier to show you this on the sleeve cuff because it's smaller. There's no flaring, and I don't have any flaring on the rest of my ribbing bind off either. And the problem that people have with Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, or with any sort of stretchy bind off in ribbing, is that they say it flares out, so that the end kind of looks a bit like that. It looks a bit messy, it doesn't look particularly neat, and it's too loose. But with Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, if you do it tight, that's the trick with this bind off, is that you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't try to do it loosely. With a lot of bind offs, they say bind off loosely, or try not to hold the yarn too tightly. But with this one, you do want to hold it tightly, because you do want to tug it nice and tight, because that is what gives you the nice neat finish. And you can sort of see the corrugation, like it goes up and down according to the knit or purl bumps, and it's nice and stretchy without flaring. And so I really enjoy using this bind off for all my ribbing generally. If I'm binding off ribbing, I prefer to use Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off. It is quite a neat bind off. I mean, it does have a slight it does look different to ribbing at the top, but it doesn't look bad different. It looks pretty neat, and I quite like how it looks. So that's my little tip for you guys. If you're having trouble with Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, or you think it doesn't look really that nice, then it's probably because you're not pulling it tight enough, and try again. Give it another go. Where did I put my notes for this one? 1 second, I need to grab something. I think I totally forgot to grab this piece of paper earlier before I started filming. Right, so moving on to the Q&A section. I was asked last week by Snake Knit on Ravelry, who is Madeline, how many countries I'd been to, and I said last week that I was going to have to go away and figure out how many countries it has been and let you guys know this week. Well, I've done just that. That's how many countries I've been to. 32 countries on this list. If you don't count Scotland and Wales as separate countries from the UK, that's kind of something that's a little bit up for debate in the UK, because I've been to Scotland and Wales, but it's still the UK, so I don't personally think of it as going to a different country, but I know some people kind of may think of it like that. So it's 32 countries, not counting the UK, considering I grew up there. So those are all the countries I've been to. Hold it up there for you guys so you can have a little look. I'm not going to sit here and read them all out. If there's anywhere in particular that you are specifically interested in hearing about, I'm more than happy to talk about it. A lot of the European countries that I went to, I did a lot of them in sort of one trip, as it were. So I went interrailing around Europe back in 2009 over the summer with one of my friends, and we did, I think I ended up hitting 14 cities in I think it must have been like 8 or 9 countries in total. It was a lot for like a 3-week trip, but it was really good fun, and I had a really good time and got to see a lot of places. And if you don't know, interrailing is something really popular, something quite popular to do in Europe. You get a train ticket that's kind of like it's a go anywhere you want train ticket for the whole of Europe. There's different sort of like levels that you can buy. The one that we got was like the whole of Europe for, I think it was a 3-week ticket, and you could take. There were some trains that were restricted, or you had to pay a little bit extra to use, but you could pretty much use most trains to travel around Europe with that one ticket. So that's kind of what I did. So yeah, done quite a few places. 32, not bad. I do understand that I'm really fortunate that I've been able to travel as much as I have. Traveling is definitely one of the things that I prioritize, or that Perry and I both prioritize over other things as something that we really want to do with our time. So we've always made a real effort to travel and see places. So yeah, so if there's something specific that you're interested in hearing about my travels and stuff that you want me to talk about, I'm more than happy to talk about them. I love talking about traveling, but at the same time I don't want to bore you guys, or I don't want to come across like I'm trying to show off or anything. So if you do have anything specific you want to hear about, or any place in particular you want to hear about, then just ask. I'm more than happy to talk about it. And then the next question I have to talk about is Sharon, who's 11's Knits, asks, is there ever anyone in the same room while you podcast? I know some say that they can't have anyone home, so they cannot listen to them as they record. No, I don't have anyone else in the room while I podcast. I never have, except that one time when my brother popped up in my episode. And other than the cats, at the moment, like I said, Hugo is just sat on the cat tree staring out the window. But other than the boys, no one else is home. When my mum was here, she was home when I had to podcast, but she stayed in her room upstairs and couldn't hear a thing. So I get really weirded out by the thought of someone being able to hear me just talk to myself. Unless I was having someone on the podcast chatting away with me, I don't think I could do it with someone else at home. It would make me feel really uncomfortable, really awkward. Not uncomfortable, I'd feel really awkward. I think that's the right word to use. Then one-to-one Carla asked, what type of scale do you have? When dividing for socks, I never seem to get them divided equally using an electronic postal meter. Well, actually, I have 2 scales. This is my kitchen scale, and this is the one I've used pretty much since I started knitting. And it's pretty standard. It does grams. It doesn't do half grams, so it just does full grams. And it does pounds, and you can change the units, but I always use grams. It does the job fine. Like, it's not a big deal. For me, usually when I'm splitting a ball of yarn for socks, if one ends up being 51 grams and one ends up being 49, it's not the end of the world. I figure, 1 or 2 grams up and down is not going to make a massive difference. But I also recently got one of these scales off of Amazon. I picked up when I was in the UK, and this works pretty well. This goes down to like 1/10 of a gram, so that's pretty good, and that works pretty well. The only problem is this doesn't come with like a little anything to hold the yarn on, so if the yarn is bigger than the space, then it's not going to weigh it accurately enough. So I just put a small I always put something on top of the scale, zero it out, and then weigh the yarn on top, and this also works pretty well. I've never really had any issues with weighing my yarn on either of these scales. Both work perfectly fine. And I wouldn't stress too much about splitting your walls exactly in half. It's, a little bit here and there is not going to affect it in the worst way. So then I had a question from Julia, who is Wuepi on Ravelry. I can never get that right, but she's also the host of the Happy Knitting Podcast. So hi Julia, and she says, I was wondering about your sewing. How did you learn to sew, and what kind of projects have you sewn besides bags? Are there any sewing projects, etc. you would like to try in the future? I learned to sew as a child. My mum taught me when I was really young. My mum's always sewn. She used to sew clothes for me and my brother when we were little. My aunt, who I've spoken about lots, English grammar failing, who I've spoken about lots on the podcast before, is a professional seamstress. She used to work for Catherine Walker, who was a really well-known British designer who was a favourite for Princess Diana. So my aunt's actually worked on dresses for Princess Diana, which is pretty cool. So she's an amazing seamstress as well, and she's taught me some stuff over the years. So sewing's always been something that people in my mum's family have done. It's never not been there. My mum, I've made loads of things. I've made clothes for myself. I made clothes for my brother when I was in school. I took a textiles class one year when I was in high school. I think I was like 14 or 15. And I finished the class project really quickly. And the teacher was like, okay, well, since you've got some time, you can pick something else to make. So I ended up making, I ended up making a shirt for my brother. He was quite young. He was only 8 at the time. I think that's what it was. I think it was a shirt, or was it shorts? I can't remember. It was one or the other, and my mum made the other one, so there was like a matching set for him to wear. I've made clothes for myself since I got my sewing machine, my current one. So I learned to sew as a child. I sewed a bit up until the age of like 14, 15 at school and at home, here and there little bits. I used to always alter my trousers because, like I said, I was a tall child. I never could find trousers that were really long enough, so I used to either cut them at the knee and add like a couple of inches of fabric in a different colour, so like a contrast colour, to make them longer, or I would add bits at the bottom, hem. I used to make bags out of old pairs of jeans, and just all sorts. I did all sorts of things with sewing, and then I didn't sew for about 10 or more years in between, and then I got my sewing machine last year in August, and since then I've obviously done a lot of bags. I've sewn myself a few dresses. I've tailored a few of Perry's shirts. I've sort of fitted them a little bit more. He bought some of his shirts that he gets, they're just like the standard fit, and they're not the tailored fit men's shirts. So I've added darts to the backs of his shirts to sort of take them in a little bit more so they're more fitted. I've prepared both of our clothes that have like torn or something. I really want to make a quilt. That's something I would really like to try, and I've got fabric set aside for a quilt top. So that's something I definitely want to do. I would definitely like to make more clothes for myself. I really like jersey fabric for dresses. I have a lot of my dresses are made of jersey fabric, so sort of like the knit fabric that you can buy, kind of like similar to the top I'm wearing. So I have quite a lot of that fabric that I bought when I got my sewing machine. Just like in plain sort of just cotton jersey fabrics. So really good for the weather over here as well, that I want to make dresses and stuff out of. So that's something I've got up my sleeve that I would like to do. I don't think I'm particularly intimidated by anything when it comes to sewing. Kind of like knitting, I figure if you follow the instructions and you take it step by step, then anything is doable. You just have to take your time. One thing that I learnt about sewing that my aunt taught me, it's one of the first things she said to me when she was so excited when she found out I got a sewing machine, probably more so than I was, because her daughter and her son, neither of her children are particularly interested in sewing, so she got really excited that I was. And one of the things she said to me, she was like, sewing takes a lot of patience. It is all about the prep with sewing. So kind of unlike with knitting, where the prep is really quick, you just wind up your yarn, print out your pattern, and you cast on and you go. It's really quite quick. But with sewing, you've got to cut out a pattern, then you've got to pre-wash your fabric, and you've got to iron your fabric, then you've got to pin out the pattern on your fabric and cut out the fabric, and then there are a lot of stages before you actually get to the sewing machine. So she's like, it takes patience. You need to be patient with your sewing. You can't rush it. And that is something that is very important to learn when you're starting out with sewing, especially if you're an impatient person like I am. Then you can, if you're impatient like I am, it's always good to start with smaller projects, something really quick and easy that's maybe doesn't even need a pattern, or just needs a very simple pattern. So you get that sort of instant satisfaction, and then sort of work up to the things that need you to take a bit more time with them. So I think that's kind of how I've done it anyway. And I have a few books and stuff on sewing. Some of them I've not really used that much, and some I have, and I think in a future episode I might talk a bit more about those as well, and share some of that with you guys. What else is there? I have one more question, but I think I might leave that for next week. My question for you guys this week is about sweater patterns. I've got quite a few sweater quantities of yarn now, mostly in fingering weight. I have 1 DK weight sweater quantity, but otherwise it's mostly fingering weight. And I was thinking, and this is going to sound really crazy once you hear why it's crazy, but I'm thinking of maybe doing Nani Swemo this year, and that's Nani Swemo is National Knit a Sweater in a Month. That's for the month of November, and so the idea is to knit an adult-sized sweater in a month. Which, considering I knit my Marco Polo cardigan in 9 days, doesn't sound like it would be undoable for me. Which, I have to say, that is the quickest I have ever knit a garment, ever. So this is by no means normal for me either. I have no idea how that even happened. So I'm trying to find sort of cardigan patterns that I like, and I have a few earmarked in my queue and in my favourites, but I'm still umming and ahhing over them. So I'm curious, what patterns do you really enjoy? Have you really enjoyed knitting? I would prefer cardigan because they're more versatile for me. I don't really wear pullovers that much, if at all. And so cardigans are definitely more suited for me. Either DK or fingering weight, a medium size that uses somewhere in the region of 1200 to 1500 yards, meters-ish, is kind of what I have. And I'm usually a size medium, 37 inch bust size. So any suggestions would be greatly appreciated. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, patterns that you've knit that you've enjoyed, or that you want to knit that you think are interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see. I really like the contiguous sleeve set that I did on the Marco Polo and on the cardigan up there. But both of these cardigans have quite a open neckline. I'd really like to find one that has a higher neckline that closes sort of right up here, because then I'm thinking of doing one where I can insert a zip, and it just seems a bit weird to have a zip inserted that finishes here. It doesn't seem to work on such an open neckline, I don't think. But I had such a good time installing, and it went so well with the other cardigan that I did with the zipper, that I'm thinking I would like to do another cardigan with, you know, either raglan or a contiguous sleeve that's a higher neckline. I think that would look really well with a zip. So that's kind of what I'm looking out for. So like I said, if you have any suggestions, please let me know. I'd really be interested in hearing about that. So that's my specific question for you guys this week. That and what I should do about those socks. Do you think chucking them in the washer and dryer is a good idea? Right, next up, shop update. Yay! There are so many things going into the shop this week. This is possibly one of the largest shop updates I've ever done. I think it might actually be the largest. Just to give you an idea, this is the basket full of bags. I'm not going to show you absolutely every single one just because it will take forever, but I'll show you, I'll pull out a few to show you. But just to give you a bit of background, I started sewing. I did all the prep for all of my fabric that I'd cut. I cut fabric for over 100 bags, and I did all the ironing for that. Was finished by Tuesday evening last week. I was done with the ironing. I started on Wednesday and I finished all the bags on Saturday. I have no idea, not all the bags, obviously the bags I picked out to do this batch. I sewed up 46 bags in 4 days, and I have no idea how that even happened. I am just, honestly, it got to the end of it and I was just like, how did I do this? Like, how did I do this and still knit all this stuff as well? I am honestly, people have been saying I don't know how you've done that. I was like, I don't know how I've done it either. I genuinely don't even know. And it's not like I stayed up late either. I still went to bed at a very reasonable hour every night, like before midnight. Like, I genuinely don't even know. But the last couple of days, I've been so tired. I think whatever it was has caught up with me. It's definitely not something I can keep up with doing long term. I don't think I can do this every week. It's just, it would be too much. And I think the only reason I was able to do as much as I did was because Perry wasn't here, so I wasn't sort of putting everything away when he got home in the evening, which is normally what I do because I want to spend time with him. So I had a bit more time in the evenings to do my knitting and stuff. So I think that's kind of how it happened, but I'm still completely flabbergasted that I managed to do all this. But yes, there are 36 bags going in this week's update. Yes, I did say I did 46, but there were about 10 or so bags that were for custom orders or swaps and stuff that I'm doing. So first up are my Notion size bags. So I have one of these, which is Santa coming down the chimney. I really like that, it's cute. I have two of these red ones, which is like Santa and gingerbread men and snowmen and Christmas trees, which are quite cute. And there's one Notion size of the winter forest. I'm going to call that winter forest. I've only 3 of my micro wedge bags in this one. There's one of the winter forest, and I really like this print because of it's got a little sled or a sleigh and a sled and the little mushrooms. And I've got 2 of the ice skating penguins, which are really adorable. My medium wide wedge bags, I have quite a few of these ones. So there are a couple in the winter forest, a couple in the red Santa, a couple in the blue penguin. There's one of the red Santa, one of the blue penguins, and there's 4 of Santa and reindeers, which I think is such a cute print as well. Then we have a bunch of the medium size bags in the penguins, Santa coming down the chimney, red Santas, and more of the winter forests. We have the large wide bags. There are 5 large wide bags. Blue Santa, red Santa, Santa and Rudolph, and the winter forest. And we have quite a few of my large bags as well, and a lot of people have said they like the large size bags, so I'm trying to make sure that I include more of the larger sizes in my updates. So there's the red ones, blue ones, Santa and Rudolph. This is a multi-directional print, so there will be some that look like they're upside down, but that's just the way the print is. And then there's a Christmas forest one, winter forest. So those will be the bags that will be going to the update, and I'll be having the update tomorrow. So yeah, the update will be tomorrow night, so that's Tuesday night, at the usual times. So it's like 9 PM Bahrain time, different times all around the world. I do have the times noted on my Instagram post. I posted something about that yesterday, and I will post again today and tomorrow to let you guys know again about the timing so you are aware. What else is there? Oh, so next up is acquisitions, and I have a lot of acquisitions to go over this week. All of this. What this is actually is there's 5 swap packages that I need to go through, because some of these have been sat waiting for me to show you for over a month, and there's one that actually almost all of these have been waiting for over a month, and one that I picked up a couple days ago. So I figure, you know what, I'm just going to take my time this week and just show you all of these so I can finally sort through them and put them away. So the first 2 I'm going to show you, and I'll show you them one at a time, were Andy of Andre Sue Knits hosted 2 swaps recently in her group. One was a handmade Notion swap, and one was a mini skein swap. So that's what these 2 are. I took part in both of them. So this was the handmade swap, and the idea for this was to, send something handmade and some notions and stuff, and some of your favorite notions and things. out. And again, if you see, Customs enjoyed opening this one. So what my partner sent me, and I'm just trying to remember. What my partner sent me was this awesome card. Which says, if you obey all the rules, you miss all the fun. Which is pretty cool. And she left me a really lovely note inside. But I'm not going to read that to you. And she sent me this beautiful little hand knit heart, which has a button, and I think there's a buttonhole here on the other side, so you can tie it on and you can hang it up. And she's attached some notions to it, so some little like ring markers, and a little dangly one, and some coilless safety pins, which are quite fun. These are always really useful to have around, so that's really, really handy, and really sweet little heart. She also sent me this Schrock cashew crunch, which is really lovely, but I can't have too much of this because it actually totally wrecks my teeth. It's delicious, but because of my history with dental problems, I have to be really careful with this sort of stuff. And she lives in the sort of like Amish country, and this is handmade by the Amish people where she lives. And she sent me a little book about the Amish and the Mennonites. Am I saying that right? Mennonites, which has been interesting to look through and sort of learn a bit more about the history of that. And she also sent me a honeybee lotion bar, which is unscented, and it's also handmade, I believe, in the area. And it's really pretty pattern, and I haven't used it yet. I've been waiting to show it to you guys, so I'm really looking forward to trying that out now. So that was a really sweet package, so thank you so much. And next up was my package from, I totally forgot to mention that package was from Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. Next up is another package, the other swap package I did. This was for the mini skeins. Customs also enjoyed opening this one. And this is from Samantha. And Samantha sent me a really lovely little collection of goodies to play with. Let's put these in the bag. So she sent me these adorable little cute clips, and these are really cute clips. They're so sweet. They'll be great for holding pattern pages together. She sent me this postcard of where she lives. She lives in Portland, Oregon, which looks beautiful. And I've always wanted to go to Portland, but I've never had the chance to yet. She sent me some little sweet goodies. She sent me some vanilla espresso almond butter and some peanut butter, which is really, really awesome. I've said Perry's going to be trying the peanut butter because he loves, I like peanut butter, but he loves peanut butter. And I'll try the vanilla espresso almond butter because that sounds really interesting to try as well. Ooh. So I'm looking forward to trying those out. Been waiting to try those. She also sent me this really sweet card. Hello from Oregon. And with the really sweet note inside as well. So that was really, really thank you. And she sent me the most amazing selection of mini skeins. Let me grab them all here to show you. Ooh, better drop them. How lovely are all these colours? There is a couple in there that are getting lost. Oh, there we go. Alright, I'm just going to show them to you a few at a time. So these ones, and there are a lot in here that I've never used. So there's spun right round in graffiti, which is really lovely. I love this colour. There's Mary Maxim Sweet Feet in orange. There's Knitted Wit in, I cannot say that word, Beaujolais. I am sorry if I've just wrecked that. There's Republic of Wool Wild Thing, which is a yarn I've really been wanting to try some Republic of Wool, so that's really fun. More Knitted Wit. This is Clematis, which is a lovely purple. There's some of her hand-dyed yarn, and she's called this one Pumpkin Cider, which is really beautiful colour orange. There's some Knit Picks in Dogwood Heather, which is beautiful. Really lovely, soft, sort of heathered pink. There is Araucania in charcoal, and I love this grey, this beautiful tonal grey. It's really lovely. And another grey, and this one is Knitted Wit, again in silver lining, which is really lovely. And these are all yarns, I believe, I'm pretty sure, that I've never knit with before. So I am really excited to add these to my blanket in really lovely colours. So thank you so much, Samantha. That's so sweet of you. I am so sorry about the sniffles. It's really bugging me, so it must be bugging you guys. Next up is a swap package from Z from Noodle Knits, and Z and I did a swap a while ago. Her package was also opened by customs, but I don't have the envelope anymore. And so she sent me some goodies. Get all these out. Just stuck them in a little net bag so I wouldn't lose them. So she sent me a little needle case that she made. It sort of opens up, and you've got all the little pockets to put your needles in and stuff. So this would be quite good for when I travel and stuff, and I want to take some needles with me, but I don't want to carry too much. And she also sent me a little needle holder case. I never know what to call them, DPN holders, but because I don't use DPNs. She sent me a couple of minis, and I think this one is Knit Picks Felici in the Time Traveller. I remember she knit a pair of socks out of this. And I think this is Cascade Heritage. She hasn't labelled them, but just judging from what I've seen her say she's used these for. And she sent me some, sorry, it's got something stuck there. She sent me some lovely teas to try. And I'm pretty sure the tea is why customs opened this bag. She made a little bunny nugget, which is really cute. So thank you for that, it's really sweet. And she also sent me some stitch markers. I say some, she sent me loads. And these are those ones that I think it's called, this is like Shrinky Dinks or something. There's like shrinkable plastic. And so there's some really sweet ones. It says like increase or purl and decrease and knit. And there's one which is the two progress keepers. One is a little sheep and one is a little unicorn cat. You can see. So it's really sweet. And thank you for that, Z. So that was my package from her. Then I also did a swap with Sarah, who I met up with in New York when I was over there, and she's the one who very kindly let me order a bunch of stuff to her house. And she brought that down for me, and we also did a swap at the same time when we met up. And oh my god, did she spoil me. I genuinely was just completely just mind blown by how amazing this package was. So to start with, she gave me a skein of Into the World yarn, and this was actually the thing that surprised me the most, because like I wasn't expecting yarn. And so this is Into the World, which I've never tried, and it's the colorway Butterfly Effect from their October 2014 Yarn Club. How beautiful are these colors? You guys already know that I really like orange and blue together, and this is a really beautiful sort of like browny rusty orange, a really nice sort of bright blue, and it sort of transitions between the two colors. I really love that. I am really looking forward to knitting these up into socks. It's just so beautiful. So not only did she give me Into the World yarn, she also gave me some hand spun, which is so beautiful. Really lovely sort of tonal purple hand spun. This is roughly a worsted weight, so this is her hand spun, and she's hand spun it from fibre by Highland Handmaids, which is another dyer that I've really been wanting to try. And I also follow Heather's podcast, so if you don't watch hers, you really should. It's really soft and squishy and really beautifully done, really consistent, lovely yarn. And I think this is going to have to be a hat. And I really wanted to show you this to you guys this week, because I really want to cast this on. I really want a hand spun hat. So I think this might have to be a Violet Waffles hat, considering it is the beautiful shade of purple. And no, that was not all she gave me. Sorry about the crinkling, let me move that bag out the way. She made me a project bag, which is beautiful. I love this print. It's peacocks, you can't tell. Really beautiful. And inside it a little lavender sachet, which smells so strongly that even in the plastic, it is permeated, and all the yarn and everything else in that bag now smells of lavender, and that is just fine by me. She gave me some packets of Kool-Aid to use for dyeing, so there are several packets in there, which will be fun to play around with. Thank you for that. She gave me one of these little row counters in purple, which I love, so thank you. She also, so not only did she make me a project bag, she also made me a little notions pouch, which is awesome. You can never have too many notions pouches. And then, to top it off, she gave me like the biggest pile of minis ever. And how gorgeous are these? There's this one, which I really love, because this is the Mind the Gap colorway, which I have in my stash, but this has all 12 stripes in it, so that's perfect. There are 3 hand spun minis in here, and that's one of her hand spun. I should clarify, that's another one, and I think that's the 3rd one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And there's loads of other beautiful yarns that I've not heard of or used before. Really, and she's also left, made notes about what she made with the what she actually made with the yarn before she turned them into minis. So yeah, that's beautiful, and I can't. So thank you so much, Sarah. That must have taken you so long to put together. It makes me feel really inadequate when I make my minis now. But yeah, I can't wait to get all of these in my blanket. I have a lot of knitting to do on that blanket now. So that's what I got from Sarah. Let me just try and move some stuff around my desk. If you could only see what is just below the camera. It is terrible. I'm trying to grab my notes. And the last package I have to share with you guys this week was a beautiful, beautiful birthday present from Amber of the Yarn Junkie podcast. She recently changed her podcast name from Crochet Junkie to Yarn Junkie. And hers is another podcast that I really enjoy watching every week, and I really love seeing what she gets up to. And what she's making, what her kids are making, because her kids are both quite young but also really crafty, and it's really lovely to see that she's encouraging that in her kids. And she sent me a very beautiful package of goodies for my birthday. They arrived a little bit late, but I don't mind. It's always nice to get a late birthday present. So she sent me this postcard, which is a picture of the cliffs where her and her husband got married back in the day. I'm not going to say when, but that's really pretty, and it's the lake where they currently live really close by to this lake as well. Some tissues, which are frankly very useful for me, especially now with all the sniffles. She sent me a pack of these really cute rainbow unicorn cat cards, which I literally screamed when I saw these. I was like, eek! And yeah, really excited about that. She sent me a beautiful card, and these are, and if you saw her podcast from a couple of weeks ago, it's the card, you'll have seen that her kids were stamping with the end of a celery stalk. So yeah, that's really cute. So thank you so much, Amber, and say thank you so much to your kids as well. That was so sweet. And I have the little sheep on the other side. And so that's not what she sent me, because Amber's just amazing. She sent me these beautiful set of stitch markers. So let me just go through these. So there's an owl, there's a camera, there's an elephant, which is a really cute one. I don't know how well you can see that. There's an elephant, there's a panda bear, there's a teacup, there's an Eiffel Tower with a little sort of like jewel dangling off of it. And there's a little chicken. I think this is really sweet, and all of them are really, I don't know how much of this Amber already knows. I'm assuming she knows, because this all seems to be very thoughtfully, very well thought out set of markers, and sorry, progress keepers, because they're all things that I'm either really interested in or completely obsessed about. So thank you so much, Amber, that was really thoughtful of you, and thank you so much. And I'm not sure, did I mention why Paris is special to me? I can't remember. I think I must have for you to put that on there. Otherwise it's just a very happy coincidence. I think I did mention that Perry and I got engaged in Paris.
beforehand. So thank you so much. That's really sweet of you. She also sent me some yarny stuff because, of course, she sent me some peaches and cream to try out some cotton yarn. So that'll be fun to knit up into dishcloths or something. She sent me this Claudia hand painted yarns. It's 100% merino wool. It's in the purple earth colourway. Really beautiful purples and greens. 50 grams, 175 yards. That's really pretty. I haven't quite decided what that's going to be yet. Still early days. And she sent me a little bag of the little goodie things. Honestly, Amber, you seriously spoiled me. There's a cute little rainbow magnet, which is really sweet. That's going to go straight on the fridge. There's this lovely little button. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, rather. This Possum Kingdom, which I'm not entirely sure the reference for this. So, sweet little badge, but I'm not entirely sure what this is reference to. So Amber, if you can let me know what this is in reference to, I'd love that. Some lip balm, always handy to have. I have really dry lips. And this really cute little label, All You Knit Is Love, which is so sweet. And these cute little panda point protectors from Higher. It's very sweet as well. And then to top it all off, last thing she sent were this little bunch of adorable minis. Now I know this one is Malabrigo. I think this is Arco Iris. I think this one she said was, is this one the one that was 100% silk or 100% something else? I can't remember. This one is I think this is Knit Picks tweed, and I can't remember what the other ones she said they were. They weren't labelled. I asked her on Instagram and she sort of left a comment on there. So that's really sweet. So thank you so much, Amber. That was so sweet and so unexpected. I really appreciate that so much. Thank you. And so the last thing I have to cover today is my week in review. So first up, so I mentioned that the pattern is now released, and the pattern's currently only available in English. And one of my lovely testers is French, and she's offered to translate it into French for me. So that's really sweet of you, and thank you so much. So that should be coming sometime soon-ish. I'm not putting any pressure on her to do it to a certain time frame. So whenever she gets that done, I will update the pattern and I will let you all know that will also be available in French at some point for those of you who prefer patterns in French. I had some serious battles with my sewing machine this last week. Since getting my sewing machine in August last year, I have never broken a needle, and then I broke 2 needles in one day. That was not fun. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on with my machine at one point. It kept jamming and stuff. I figured it out in the end and it's fine now, but it was being a bit temperamental. Again, like I said before earlier, I have no idea how I got all this stuff done. It completely boggles my mind sometimes. But it's just really, I think it's when I get focused and kind of get really determined and I set myself a goal and I'm like, I'm going to get this amount of stuff, all of these things done today. And then I just get on with it and do it. So I think part of it was just sheer determination. I've not really been sleeping all that well lately. Like the last 2-3 nights, my sleep has been pretty terrible. I've been trying to cut out caffeine from my diet recently, so I've been trying to have a lot less coffee, almost no coffee, and stuff, but it doesn't seem to be helping. Like I'm sleeping worse than I did when I was having caffeine, and I was trying to cut out the caffeine because I thought that was what was causing me not to sleep very well. Sorry, but it seems to be making it worse. So I hope I'll get over that soon and I'll actually be able to sleep again. But what else has there been? Oh, Perry got back from London last night, so that was lovely to have him back. I went to my knitting group last week for the first time, and I'll be going again tomorrow, so that'll be good. It'll be not for the first time in a long time. So it'll be nice to go back again tomorrow and hang out with the ladies, have a coffee maybe tomorrow. And we're getting ready for our upcoming trip to DC at the end of the month, which is going to be really fun. One of the students on Perry's course lives in DC, lives in Alexandria, and he's sort of organised an itinerary for this long weekend that we're going for, and he's actually offered for Perry and I to stay with him and his wife. So we're going to do that, and he's actually ex-military. So part of the itinerary is we're doing a visit to the White House, and we're also visiting the Pentagon, which should be fun. And Perry was saying the other day, he was like, you have no idea how many forms I've had to fill in just to actually be able to go to these places. So I hope that'll be worth it, and I hope that'll be interesting. And then we'll be doing, I think, 1 or 2 of the museums. It's pretty much a packed itinerary for the whole 4 days, I think it is, that we're there. But we do have one free day, and that will be the 1st of November, which I am hoping to be meeting up with Tanya and a couple of other people at Fiberspace. And Tanya is Tanya Marie on Ravelry, Beezy Mama on Instagram. She's the Sampler Girl podcast on iTunes and YouTube. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to catching up with some knitting friends while I'm there, and checking out Fiberspace, which I've heard so much about, and just in general going back to DC. I've been to DC once before, a few years ago, with my brother. Perry's never been, so it'll be nice to go with him. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that trip. And then I'll be up to Boston for a couple of days to visit family, and then catching up with Perry again in New York before we come home. So that should be fun. And so that's really what we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping, so other than this bag update tomorrow, and this is kind of another reason why this is an entirely Christmas themed bag update for tomorrow. The main reason for that being was because the next couple of months are going to be so busy. I mean, I'm only home for 10 days in November, because you don't get back until the 9th, and then I leave again on the 19th. So I'm really only here for 10 days in November. So I knew if I don't get my Christmas bags out now, I was worried about not being able to get the bags out in time. So they're going out now with plenty of time for you guys if you want to get bags for Christmas presents, or want to get bags in time to use for Christmas projects and stuff. You can get them nice and early and make sure that it gets to you, so international postage shouldn't be too much of a problem. Yeah, I think I pretty much covered everything. I'm not sure that there's anything else left to say other than make sure you check out the update tomorrow night, and I will hopefully have one more update before I leave for DC in another week or so. So yeah, make sure you check it out. So I think that's pretty much everything for this week. I also have filmed a quick little clip on the GoPro. I got the GoPro off of Perry recently, so I could film some bits as I drive around Bahrain for you guys. And I filmed a little clip driving from home to the post office, so you guys get to see what my journey looks like when I go to deliver your packages to the post office to get mailed out to you all. So I've just added that. It's only a couple of minutes long to the end of this episode, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a really lovely week, and I will be back next week. So till next time, bye.